The Great Ruler Episode 117 Explanation. The hundreds of Academy plaques placed before his eyes truly possessed a slight shock factor. Even with Mu Chen's character, the scene before his eyes caused him to slightly gawk. Mu Chen stared at the Academy plaques. If he was able to obtain all of those points, his group should have enough points to catapult themselves into the top 8. Beside him, the eyes of Xu Huang and the others turned scorching hot, similarly showing their shock due to the presence of so many Academy plaques. Standing by his side, Luo Li didn't say a word, while Wen Qingxian crossed her jade-like hands before her chest as she cast her beautiful eyes towards Mu Chen. Behind Lin Ju's back, the dozens of groups were also staring at Mu Chen. Complicated feelings filled their eyes. However, they did not make any noise in the end. That's because they knew that if not for Mu Chen appearing here today, they would be hard-pressed to escape the calamity they were in earlier. According to the rules, Mu Chen would absolutely obtain the majority of the spoils of war. As for them, being able to obtain the bits that trickle down would in fact be an exceedingly good deal by itself. Who? Under the glare of everyone present, Mu Chen continued staring at the Academy plaques as he deeply pondered for a bit. Finally, a smile appeared on his handsome face. This smile was entirely different from the dark and sinister one that Lu Qian wore earlier, being able to cause warmth to appear in the hearts of people. It had to be said that the smiling Mu Chen possessed quite some charm, shown by the gradually relaxed expressions on the faces of the groups behind Lin Ju. "Captain Lin Ju, you've truly given me a hard problem to solve," said Mu Chen as he looked towards Lin Ju. Hearing that, the latter gawked, before scratching his head and replying, "You don't need to worry about it. In fact, matters like weak groups being eliminated by powerful groups are too much of a common thing in the Great Spiritual Academy tournament. There's no one that would say anything about it. Of the points here, I'll take one portion, with Wen Qingxian and her group taking another. As for the last portion, you can distribute it among everyone here. After all, these points are your spoils of war," replied Mu Chen within a smile. Hearing Mu Chen's reply, Lin Ju and the rest immediately gawked while blankly staring at Mu Chen as they felt slightly inconceivable towards the former's decision. After all, they had collaborated with some powerful groups before. However, those so-called collaborations were in fact those powerful groups wanting to utilize them as cannon fodder or meat shields. Furthermore, when it came to the distribution of points, the powerful teams would seemingly seize half or more of them. Only the rest would be distributed to the groups that were in collaboration with them. Therefore, when Mu Chen had only taken a portion, all of them seemed to be slightly unable to believe what they just heard. "Don't look at me like that. I've not gotten to the stage where points don't matter. On the contrary, I rather love snatching points from them as opposite to those weaker ones," replied Mu Chen with a faint smile as he pointed towards the Lu Qian who was buried in the sand. Exchanging glances with each other, a slightly unconcealable look of gratitude emerged from the eyes of Lin Ju and the others after deeply pondering for quite a while. Their groups weren't strong or weak, causing them to feel extremely awkward in the current situation of the Great Spiritual Academy tournament. Generally speaking, upon reaching such a stage, they would seemingly become point banks in the eyes of those powerful groups. Such a status could be considered as low and pitiful. Therefore, Mu Chen giving them such an extremely large choice was a first for them. That's because all of them knew what Mu Chen was giving them wasn't just a choice, but respect, too. "Thank you, Captain Mu Chen." The group standing behind Lin Ju cupped their hands towards Mu Chen as they said their thanks in deep voices. The dozens of group captains cupped their hands towards Mu Chen while saying their thanks, with gratitude present within their eyes. During this period of time, their emotions were truthfully not quite good. Could anyone's honor not be hurt by being exploited by powerful groups one after another before having their points snatched away from them? Mu Chen was somewhat stunned and amazed by their responses. Giving an awkward laugh, he turned his gaze towards Wen Qingxian before saying, "Take 2 portions of the points. I've said before that I'll try my best to let you regain your numero uno place again." Panning her head to shoot a look at Mu Chen, Wen Qingxian raised her red lips before replying in a low voice, "I never knew that Captain Mu Chen also knows quite a good move to buy the hearts of people." Unable to tell whether Wen Qingxian had any intent of ridiculing him with her reply, Mu Chen wrinkled his forehead as he said, "That's not my intention. I purely dislike doing something like that. Okay. I never said that you were like that. Wen Qingxian replied with a faint smile, with her voice unexpectedly turning somewhat gentle. Looking deeply at Mu Chen with her beautiful eyes, she said, if you had truly devoured all of those points, I would have become slightly disappointed in you, although this truly is no concern of whether it's right or wrong. I know that power is the say in this place, and that there's no one that's able to criticize or find fault with what you do. Nevertheless, if you're unable to even resist such a temptation, I'd truly be unable to believe that you'd be able to walk far in the path ahead of you. Shooting a look at Luo Li, she said in a profound manner, if you're unable to walk that far, don't destroy such a lustrous girl as her. Everyone has their own interpretations of the truth. However, it seems as if you're praising me, replied Mu Chen as he rubbed his nose. Truthfully speaking, his thoughts were extremely simple, as he did not want to use such a way to obtain points. That's because he knew that this wasn't the original intent of the creation of this great spiritual academy tournament. The groups that relied on the weak groups to obtain a large quantity of points would not be able to truly stand at the peak at the end. Your skin's quite thick, huh? Said Wen Qingxian as she rolled her eyes towards Mu Chen. The gentleness that was present within her voice was instantly gone, and she regained her arrogant, phoenix-like appearance once again. As she spoke those words, Wen Qingxian waved her jade-like hand, before taking out 2 portions of the points present on the academy plaques. As the thick brilliance rose up, the points on her academy plaque drastically rose by 20,000 points, inching closer towards the numero uno, Ji Xian. After taking those points, Wen Qingxian tossed the academy plaques towards Lin Ju and the others, who hastily took over and distributed the remaining points. After a moment of chaos, order was regained in the surrounding area, while the gazes shooting towards Mu Chen were filled with gratitude. Brother Mu Chen, there's no words that can describe our thanks for this great kindness. All of us will remember your kindness, said Lin Ju as he slightly bent his waist. Without saying any more roundabout words, he waved his hands, before turning around and leaving. After expressing their gratitude to Mu Chen once more, the other groups had also started to leave. Seeing their leaving figures, a faint smile appeared on Mu Chen's face. What about that fellow? From the looks of it, he seems to not have any good feelings towards you, said Wen Qingxian as she pointed her slender finger towards Lu Tian. At this moment, the latter appeared to have clenched his teeth, clearly possessing an extreme amount of hatred towards Mu Chen. Upon hearing that, Mu Chen's eyes slightly narrowed. A person of such strength as Lu Tian was considered somewhat of a threat towards him and his group. If he was to let the latter go so easily, upon regaining his stride, the latter would definitely cause some trouble for him and his group. Mu Chen, you've already taken away my points. What else do you want? Could it be that you want to kill me? I won't go as far as to kill you, replied Mu Chen with a laugh. As his eyes sparkled, faint black light suddenly surfaced within his palm, with an extremely strange and mysterious power present within it. This was the power of sealing that came from the page of the undying blueprint present within his body. Mu Chen pressed his palm onto Lu Tian's chest, causing the sealing power to rapidly drill within the latter's body. In the next instant, Lu Tian discovered to his horror that the spiritual energy within his body had unexpectedly started to decline at an astonishing speed. Within the short span of a few breaths, Lu Tian, who was already heavily injured, had his strength decreased to roughly the realm of human body disaster, while the spiritual energy fluctuations radiating from his body were being suppressed to the extremity. What have you done to me? Lu Tian was finally terrified. That's because he could feel that the spiritual energy within his body appeared to have been suppressed, causing him to unexpectedly be unable to circulate it at will. As he probed with his mind, he discovered black rays of brilliance sparkling within the meridians of his body. It was precisely those strange and mysterious black lights that had caused him to lose the absolute control he had over the spiritual energy within his body. I've only temporarily sealed your spiritual energy, that's all. With Lu Tian's current state, wanting to dispel the sealing force within him would take a month, at the very least. During that time frame, the Great Spiritual Academy tournament would have already reached its conclusion. Lu Tian's face lost all color, with his eyes brimming with unbridled anger and fury. Nevertheless, Mu Chen did not continue caring about him as he calmly turned his body around. Looking towards Luo Li, Wen Qingxian and the rest, he said, "Let's go." We should find the next target now. As his voice rang out, his figure started to rise to the sky, with Luo Li and the rest following suit, leaving being an exceedingly miserable Lu Qian roaring in fury and anger. The matter of Lu Qian's group suddenly dropping out of the top 16 had caused quite the big ripples within the vast central region. After all, within this place, Lu Qian was still considered to be a rather famous expert. Who would have expected that his defeat would happen so quickly? As people took in this set of news, all of them could not help sighing and lament. There were truly crouching tigers and hidden dragons within this great spiritual academy tournament. On the top of a green mountain peak. Looking at the academy plaque, faint wrinkles started to appear on Ji Xian's forehead. Lu Qian's been defeated, said Mu Feng, who was standing behind him. Could it be that there are people wanting to deal with us? There are crouching tigers and hidden dragons in this place. With him being too rampant, Lu Qian's defeat was inevitable. On the contrary, Ji Xian did not appear so overly concerned. After all, rising and falling with the current phase of the Great Spiritual Academy tournament was all too common. Hearing that, Mu Feng nodded his head, without adding any more words. Clearly, the two of them had not placed such a common matter so heavily within their hearts. However, their current frame of mind only lasted for a day, before being abruptly broken. At that moment, even with Ji Xian's state of mind, his face had started to turn dark. That's because they had heard yet another shocking piece of news on the second day that was circulating around the vast central region. It was from the Myriad Beast Spiritual Academy. The group led by Wang Jiang that had obtained the inheritance of the demonic alligator palace had similarly been defeated, with the person doing so being known as Mu Chen. On the mountain peak, Mu Feng looked towards the dark-faced Ji Xian. At this moment, they could clearly feel the feeling of being aimed at. That Mu Chen had already started to launch a challenge towards Ji Xian. As time had elapsed to this phase, the Great Spiritual Academy tournament had already entered its final period of the contention for hegemony. More and more powerful groups continued to emerge, before continuing to constantly change the top 16 with new names. Therefore, under the premise of such large changes, other than the few groups that truly possessed astonishing strength, the other groups all felt alarmed, anxious and afraid that there would be a powerful group emerging and defeating them at any moment, before standing on their heads and spreading their fame and reputation across the entire competition. Even under such a period of great change, the defeat of Lu Qian and Wang Jiang, the originally 10th place and 8th place respectively, had still caused quite the big ripples in the Great Spiritual Academy tournament. That was due to the similarity in the group that had led to the defeat of these two powerful groups, which was precisely the one from the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy that had Mu Chen as their captain. Furthermore, those people with more informed sources knew about an additional piece of information, which was that Lu Qian and Wang Jiang were both part of Ji Xian's alliance. As for Mu Chen, he didn't find anyone else, but had specifically targeted those groups that were in an alliance with Ji Xian. The intent of targeting the latter was already clear and obvious. Such targeting caused quite a few people to feel amazed and stunned. As of now, Ji Xian's fame and reputation was too extensive and widespread within the Great Spiritual Academy tournament. This heaven-gifted son of the spiritual road was still as dazzling as the sun, even in a place like this, where numerous geniuses were present, causing people be only able to look up to him. Quite a few powerful groups had all suffered defeat in the hands of Ji Xian and the group he led, successfully becoming his stepping stones to reach greater heights. Therefore, in the current phase of the Great Spiritual Academy tournament, the number of groups that were able to send a challenge towards Ji Xian and his group might not even exceed one hand. It was also this reason that caused everyone to feel that stunned and amazed upon hearing that Mu Chen had actually dared to target Ji Xian at this current phase of time. After all, regardless of anything, there was a clear, hard-to-surmount disparity between Mu Chen's fame and reputation, when compared to Ji Xian. Therefore, everyone was waiting for the response of Ji Xian towards such targeting by Mu Chen. However, what made many people astonished was that after Lu Qian and Wang Jiang's groups were defeated, Ji Xian had unexpectedly not made any retaliatory actions. Such feelings appeared as if he had forgotten about the focus Mu Chen had made against him. Such a response by Ji Xian had seemingly exceeded everyone's expectations. They were completely unable to understand why Ji Xian, who had always been exceedingly fierce in his actions, would not invoke any retaliatory response. This was clearly unlike his usual mannerisms and attitude. Nevertheless, regardless of how much Ji Xian's actions had caused voices of doubt to rise within the Great Spiritual Academy tournament, he did not make any changes to his actions. Appearing to still continue calmly defeating group after group, obtaining more points and steadying his position as the numero uno on the rankings. It was within those blanketing voices of doubt that yet another attention-grabbing matter happened, which was a new group that had rushed into the top 16. Generally speaking, it was a common occurrence for powerful groups to suddenly rise into the top 16 during this period of time. Other than causing everyone to feel astonished for a moment, things quickly calmed down. That was because it wouldn't take long for this dark horse that had emerged to be brought down by yet another dark horse, something that was common in this current situation. Therefore, what made people interested was that this emerging group wasn't a dark horse, but a group that was unexpectedly from the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. Ranked 16th on the point rankings. Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. Captain, Shen Sangshen. With the addition of this group in the points ranking, the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy had become the only spiritual academy within the Great Spiritual Academy tournament to occupy 2 places within the top 16. That's because after defeating Wang Jiang, the group led by Mu Chen had rose to the 10th rank on the rankings. Ji Xian's really able to endure. Standing on a hill, Mu Chen looked towards a small town present before him. From time to time, there would be streaks of light descending from the skies, before landing within. This was a small transaction base within this region, and was also their temporary resting ground, for now. Why won't Ji Xian take direct action against us? As of now, we've already stepped into the top 16, with Ji Xian being able to find our location, asked Xu Huang, standing behind Mu Chen in doubt. This question had been bugging him for the past few days, as he was guarding against Ji Xian sending an attack. However, what made him suspicious was that for the past few days, Ji Xian, who should be getting angry and furious at them for such targeting, had not shown any movement at all. That's because Ji Xian's also afraid, replied Luo Li in a soft voice. You guys underestimate your captain too much, added Wen Qingxian with a smile. Within the spiritual road, he and Ji Xian are old opponents. Furthermore, in such a confrontation, Ji Xian doesn't have any obvious advantage over him. Hearing that, Xu Huang and the others gave embarrassed laughs in response, with shock and astonishment appearing in their eyes as they looked towards Mu Chen. As Ji Xian gradually increased in fame and reputation, they had also started to know about the frightening strength the latter possessed. Such a character would absolutely be rated as a heaven-gifted child, and was more than sufficient to cause countless geniuses to pale in color when compared to him. However, even this heaven-gifted child seemed to not be able to obtain much of an advantage in Mu Chen's hands. One could see from this that the latter similarly possessed the methods and capability that was not inferior to Ji Xian. That's why there's no one that could obstruct Mu Chen's path in our Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. So, it turns out that he's a top-class big shot, said Zhao Qingshan with a bitter laugh. In the past, they were still brooding about the fact that Mu Chen was a freshman, with them being his seniors. However, now, they had no choice but to respect and admire the former. You guys better not praise me. Mu Chen could not help laughing. The accurate reason why Ji Xian didn't take action is due to fearing the 3 of us. His fingers were pointing at himself, Luo Li and Wen Qingxian. Among the 3 of them, other than him, the other 2 beautiful and soul-stirring girls were also not ordinary people. Within the spiritual road, Luo Li forced Ji Xian to the point of him losing the chance of obtaining the spiritual crown, while Wen Qingxian had obtained it in one sweep, suppressing the outstanding geniuses present there with her skills. Among the 2 girls, the fame and reputation of Wen Qingxian wasn't inferior to Ji Xian, with her also being the only person in many people's eyes that could contend with Ji Xian for the number 1 spot. As for Luo Li, she was the one who had the lowest profile. Even Mu Chen was not clear exactly how much power this future empress of the Luo god clan was concealing. Every single time he had probed her out, the young girl would only give a smile in response without answering, causing Mu Chen to feel itchy all over about it. With these 2 heavyweight figures beside him, no matter how prideful or confident Ji Xian was, he would not dare to carelessly take action. Furthermore, there were also other reasons behind his decision to not attack them. That's because if Ji Xian really wanted to launch an all-out battle with Mu Chen and his group, it would definitely result in a heaven-shaking battle. At that time, regardless of who would win or lose in the end, both parties would get seriously hurt and injured. At this moment in the Great Spiritual Academy tournament, there were other heavyweight existences within other groups. To Ji Xian, those groups had similarly possessed extreme threat to him. Perhaps, in ordinary circumstances, those few heavyweight groups would not dare to recklessly confront Ji Xian in battle. However, once he had crossed hands with Mu Chen and suffer serious injuries as a result, those heavyweight groups might be the first to deal with him, who was the opponent with the greatest threat to them. It was precisely due to such a reason that caused Ji Xian to not recklessly take action in response to Mu Chen purposefully targeting him, despite knowing that the latter had removed his claws, being Lu Tian and Wang Jian completely away. This fellow clearly possessed a rather strong level of patience and fortitude. Hearing that, Xu Huang and the other two quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Not requiring to face the strongest group in the current Great Spiritual Academy tournament was something worth relaxing a bit for them. You guys are celebrating too early. Seeing that, Mu Chen gave a faint smile as he spoke out. Crossing his fingers gently, he continued speaking. With my understanding of Ji Xian, he would not completely endure this matter without doing anything. As of now, the reason why he doesn't make any action is due to him not having absolute assurance. Ji Xian's cautious and prudent and won't recklessly take action. Once he takes action, it would definitely a lightning-quick method. Therefore, Mu Chen raised his head and looked into the distance. As chilling intent surfaced within his black pupils, he continued speaking, the current tranquility is just the prelude of the storm. Once Ji Xian takes action, what comes next would be the true assault of the storm. Hearing Mu Chen's words, the faces of Xu Huang and the other two turned sluggish. Although Mu Chen sounded calm and neutral, they were still able to hear the chilling intent hidden beneath it. Cough, let's not care about him. In any case, we view three heavyweights. If he really takes action, we aren't afraid of him. Xu Huang gave a dry cough, before looking at his academy plaque. With a smile, he said, I never would have imagined that Shen Sangsheng and the others would also be able to rush up into the rankings. Those fellows truly are not simple, too. Hearing that, Mu Chen smiled and nodded his head. Looking at the group at the 16th place, which was now occupied by Shen Sangsheng's group, this clearly showed that their strength had progressed by leaps and bounds compared to before. From the looks of it, they had similarly obtained quite a huge benefit from this shattered continent. This caused Mu Chen to feel quite relieved and gratified. It truly has been a long time since we've seen them. I don't know how they are doing right now, said Mu Chen with a faint smile. He also wanted to see and meet up with Shen Sangsheng, Li Xiantong, Zhu Xian, and the others again. Why not we go and find them, suggested Xu Huang. Hearing that, Mu Chen shook his head and replied. As of now, we've already brought the fight to Ji Xian. If Shen Sangsheng and the others are to move together with us, we'd bring trouble for them. Oh! Suddenly, Luo Li cried out, her beautiful eyes slightly contracting as she pointed towards the first place on the point rankings, before saying in a deep tone, Ji Xian's position is changing. Hearing that, Mu Chen and the others instantly looked over. Indeed, Ji Xian's location was changing extremely quickly. Clearly, they were currently moving at an extremely quick pace. Could they be rushing towards us? Asked Luo Li in astonishment. Hearing that, faint wrinkles appeared on Mu Chen's forehead as he stared at Ji Xian's changing location. After an instant, his eyes furiously contracted, while chilling intent gushed from the depths his black pupils. He's not rushing towards us. Mu Chen's handsome face appeared exceedingly dark at this instant, with his hands abruptly, tightly clenched, while the killing intent within his eyes soaring. He's planning on taking action towards Shen Sangsheng and the others. Hearing those words, the faces of Xu Huang and the others instantly contorted. The atmosphere on the hill froze seemingly in an instant, while a murderous aura started to quietly appear. Ugly expressions appeared on the faces of Xu Huang and the others. Never in their wildest dreams did they expect that Ji Xian would turn his spearhead towards Shen Sangsheng and the others. He's planning to return an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, said Wen Qingxian in a slow manner. During this period of time, Mu Chen had been pulling out the teeth and claws of Ji Xian's alliance. Therefore, Ji Xian had now chosen the same exact method to remove the other Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy group, as well as to appropriate a response to Mu Chen. Ji Xian's extremely cautious in his actions. He knows what kind of action you would take if he was to do such a thing. However, he still chose to do so. Therefore, I believe that he should have made his preparations, said Luo Li in a deep voice as she looked towards Mu Chen. Hearing that, Mu Chen slightly nodded his head. With Ji Xian always having exceedingly deep and complex schemes, if the latter didn't have the slightest bit of assurance, he would absolutely not recklessly do something like that. However, from the looks of it, he had still gone through and did it. That is to say, did he already put the fear of Mu Chen and the others dealing with him behind his back? Exactly for what reason caused him to suddenly not worry about such fear? A glint sparkled within Mu Chen's eyes, while slivers of killing intent gushed from within. Indeed, there had never been a place where this opponent was easy to deal with. What should we do? Xu Huang and the others stared at Mu Chen. If Ji Xian and his group had come prepared, them recklessly moving out might be something that the former would have expected. At that time, once they engage in combat, it might start what might be the most intense and cruel fight within the Great Spiritual Academy tournament. In such a situation, even Mu Chen wouldn't have absolute assurance of being able to obtain victory. Ever since he had started to take action against Lu Qian and Wang Jiang, Mu Chen had already anticipated that Ji Xian wouldn't dare to recklessly start a counterattack against them. This would cause him to silently wait for the right time. It was this silence that would undoubtedly create a blow towards the latter's fame and reputation. Indeed, the matter had proceeded according to Mu Chen's expectations. However, he had not expected that Shen Sangsheng and the other group would rush into the top 16 at this moment, causing them to appear in the sights of Ji Xian. Therefore, this move by Ji Xian had turned his originally disadvantageous situation around. At this moment, there might already be quite a few people paying attention to this matter and would be anticipating a response from Mu Chen's side. Exactly what should he do? Continue to bide his time, or take the risk of the possibility of Ji Xian being prepared for him to mount a rescue? If it was the former, it would result in quite a big blow towards Mu Chen's reputation, as this whole matter was started by him. As for now, Ji Xian had directed his anger and fury onto Shen Sangsheng and the other Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy group. If Mu Chen was to watch and not take any action, there might be quite a few that would wag their tongues about him. However, if he chose to do the latter, once he suffered defeat, Ji Xian might not give him the chance to make a resurgence. A chilling light slowly congealed within Mu Chen's black pupils, with the surrounding atmosphere turned so tense it appeared to have frozen solid. After an instant, he slowly closed his eyes. Upon opening them, his gaze appeared to have slightly calmed down. Slowly tensing his body, he said in a calm voice, "Let's head out." Xu Huang and the others were startled as they looked towards Mu Chen. "Regardless of what preparations Ji Xian has prepared for us, this is something that we've started. Regardless of what the outcome is, we have to carry it on our shoulders," replied Mu Chen in an indifferent tone. "Furthermore, I really want to know what kind of show Ji Xian has prepared. However, regardless of that, I'll let him know that he might not be able to stomach me, Mu Chen. It was like that in the spiritual road, and will be the same over here." Looking towards the calm-faced youth before their eyes, Xu Huang noticed a layer of gloss reflecting out of the latter's black pupils under the illumination of the sunlight. Even when faced against the most elite figure whose name had shocked the entire Great Spiritual Academy tournament, the latter still did not show the slightest bit of dread or fear. Mu Chen's calm appearance caused Xu Huang and the others to gradually calm down, before solemnly nodding their heads. Staring at Mu Chen's face a while, Luo Li gave a gentle laugh. She loved the self-confidence that was hidden within the core of the youth before her eyes. That kind of self-confidence wasn't brought forth by ignorance nor being impetuous, but one that originated from one's core. Admittedly, Ji Xian was powerful. However, he too possessed an intolerable arrogance and contemptuous attitude. When Jing Xian twirled a lock of her black hair that flowed behind her ear as she swept a look towards Mu Chen with her beautiful eyes. At this moment, she knew that the apex clash of the Great Spiritual Academy tournament was truly about to start. There was only one thing she did not know. Exactly who among these two similarly monstrous talents would end up being the final victor in this clash? Mu Chen took a deep breath, before giving an abrupt wave of his hand. As his figure rose into the air, he transformed into a ray of light, shooting straight towards the direction of Shen Sangsheng and his group, as indicated on the academy plaque. Behind him, Luo Li, Wen Qingxian, Xu Huang and the others immediately followed suit, with dense murderous auras following the whooshing sounds that rang out. While Mu Chen and his group started to rush towards where Shen Sangsheng and his group was, quite a lot of people within the central region had also discovered this change in the situation. Therefore, the atmosphere was on the verge of exploding. As of now, there was no one that didn't know about the reputation of Ji Xian. After all, being able to lord over the numero uno place was more than sufficient to show the astonishing capabilities he possessed. Faced against such a monstrous talent, there might not be any group that dared to show the slightest bit of ignorance towards them. At this moment, everyone knew that the group led by Ji Xian absolutely possessed the qualifications to aim for the championship. As for Mu Chen, there weren't many people that knew about him in the earlier phase of the Great Spiritual Academy tournament. However, following his destruction of the large array arranged by Xiao Huang, defeating Mo Xiu, Jiu Ning and Liu San with a single move, as well as destroying Ji Xian's alliance partners, the former 10th and 8th placed Lu Tian and Wang Jiang respectively, his fame and reputation had risen at an exceedingly astonishing pace. This was especially true after he had destroyed Ji Xian's alliance. With Ji Xian not showing any movement at all, the name of Mu Chen was remembered by more and more powerful groups. When thinking about a person that was able to cause a monstrous talent like Ji Xian to suffer losses and restrain his emotions made everyone feel fear and dread towards him. Therefore, everyone had great anticipation towards the moment when these two people would bump heads, and to what kind of astonishing battle would take place. Therefore, upon noticing the movements of Ji Xian and Mu Chen, seemingly all of the powerful groups had turned their eyeballs over. All of them had a premonition that the curtains towards the most eye-catching confrontation within the entirety of the Great Spiritual Academy tournament had already started to draw open. Whoosh! Whoosh! Suddenly, countless hurried whooshing sounds rang out across the entire earth, as powerful groups rushed across the horizon in succession. Transforming into rays of light, all of them rushed across the vast earth as they headed towards a certain location. Seemingly inadvertently, this had quietly caused the fiery and intense atmosphere within this region, where seemingly all of the powerful groups within the Great Spiritual Academy tournament had converged, to be pushed to its pinnacle. Whoosh! Rays of light shot over the horizon. Mu Chen's figure was presently at the lead of those figures, with his eyes tightly locked on the far distance. At this moment, not the slightest fluctuation was present on his handsome face, even when he could sense the suddenly fierce change in the atmosphere within the entire region, since all of these changes were caused by his actions. As of now, they might have already become the most prominent group within the masses present within the Great Spiritual Academy tournament. Ji Xian and his gang seems to have discovered our actions, since his speed has suddenly increased by quite a bit. According to his current speed, I'm afraid that he might reach Shen Sangsheng and his group before us, whispered Luo Li after suddenly moving closer to Mu Chen. Hearing that, Mu Chen's eyes slightly narrowed. Taking a look at the academy plaque within his hand, he noticed that Ji Xian's movements really did suddenly increase in speed. Such a speed had caused even him to feel somewhat shocked. Let's speed up. Mu Chen spoke out in a deep voice. They needed to find Shen Sangsheng and his group before Ji Xian and his gang did. If not, in the off chance they were to land in the hands of Ji Xian and his gang, it would be a form of suppression towards Mu Chen. Such a method was something that Ji Xian excelled in. As his voice rang out, a shadow dragon abruptly took form beneath his feet. As a dragon roar resounded across the horizon, Mu Chen's speed drastically increased once more. At his instant, Luo Li and Wen Qingxian had increased their speed without the slightest bit of restraint as they quickly followed behind him. The only people left behind were Xu Huang and the rest. Nevertheless, at this moment, Mu Chen could no longer care about that. They had to reach Shen Sangsheng before Ji Xian does. As the atmosphere within the vast earth had suddenly turned fiery and explosive, the atmosphere in a certain valley had also turned exceedingly depressed. Shen Xiangsheng, Li Xiantong, Zhu Xian and the other two sat within a valley as they quietly recuperated. They had experienced a great battle not too long ago against a group that was quite formidable, causing them to expend a considerable amount of effort to clinch the victory. Nevertheless, relying on the points they had obtained, they had finally broke into the top 16. That fellow, Mu Chen, really has climbed very fast. He's actually at the 10th place already. After taking a look at his academy plaque, Yao suddenly cast his mouth aside as he spoke. That brat's always been remarkable. Him only climbing to the 10th place as of now is something that I've not expected, replied Shen Xiangsheng with a smile as he opened his eyes. However, as of now, our Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy is the only spiritual academy with two groups in the top 16, added Li Xiantong with a faint smile. Hearing that, everyone smiled and nodded their heads. Oh! Suddenly, Zhu Xian, who was playing around with her academy plaque in her hand, cried out in shock, before her beautiful face slightly changed. Fiercely raising her head, she said, "That's not right, why are there so many groups suddenly rapidly heading towards our direction?" Upon hearing that, Shen Xiangsheng immediately gawked as he hastily pulled out his academy plaque. Indeed, other than them, the groups present at the top 16 were unexpectedly closing in towards their direction. Among them included the numero uno, Ji Xian, as well as the 10th place Mu Chen. What's the matter? Sensing that something wasn't quite right, Li Xiantong and the others immediately asked in deep voices. A slight change happened to Shen Xiangsheng's gaze, before he furiously stood up as he replied in a fierce voice, "Let's leave, quickly. We've become Ji Xian's target. He wants to use us to retaliate against Mu Chen." Hearing that, the faces of Li Xiantong and the others instantly changed. Clenching her academy plaque, Zhu Xian's voice turned bitter as she said, "I'm afraid that we're too late." Shen Xiangsheng's face turned dark as he raised his head. At this instant, whooshing sounds were already reverberating as they rang from the distant horizon. Lowering his head to look at his academy plaque, he saw that the numero uno, Ji Xian, was already at a position that was merely a dozen kilometers away from them. Such a position was more than sufficient to indicate that they had already been locked on by him. The atmosphere within the mountain valley froze and turned suffocating as exceedingly ugly expressions appeared on the faces of Shen Xiangsheng and the other four. Clearly, they were somewhat caught with their pants down by this sudden trouble. Although they had obtained quite a big benefit in this fragment of the shattered continent, resulting in their strength improving by quite a bit, they were extremely clear that they were absolutely not a match for a group like Ji Xian's. Once the two sides were to truly engage in combat, their side would lose without a doubt. "What should we do?" asked Yao as he looked towards Shen Xiangsheng with an ugly look on his face. As a dark shade fluctuated over Shen Xiangsheng's face, he gave a furious clench of his teeth as he replied, "I'll take the academy plaque and run away. You guys scatter and leave." Hearing Shen Xiangsheng's reply, Li Xuantong's face instantly sunk down as he said, "With such a short distance, they would already be able to lock onto us. Simply running away would be of no use. Furthermore, once they catch you or any of us, it would end up with the same result. That's because if any one of us falls into their hands, they would definitely use us to deal with Mu Chen. And with Mu Chen's character, I'm afraid that he wouldn't just stand by the side and watch. If not, he wouldn't be rushing over here with all his might. Let's go together. Although Ji Xian and his gang are extremely formidable, we ain't just mud on the floor," growled Yang Lin, the last member of the group. Creaking sounds rang from Shen Xiangsheng's hands as his face turned ashen. At this moment, a feeling of humiliation gushed from his heart. Being a rather prideful person at heart, he was the numero uno on the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy's heavenly rankings before the appearance of Mu Chen. However, at this moment, they were forced to such a miserable position, yet he was powerless to change it. Bang! Shen Xiangsheng fiercely sent a punch against the rock wall beside him, causing cracks to rapidly extend from his fist. Taking a deep breath, he said in a deep voice, "Let's scatter first. As of now, Mu Chen and the others are currently rushing over. Regardless of anything, we have to drag the time on and wait for him to arrive. At that time, Ji Xian will fail at his objective." Hearing that, Li Xiantong, Zhu Xian and the others nodded their heads in agreement. All of them were not willing to land in Ji Xian's hands and be used against Mu Chen. Let's go. Shen Sangsheng gave a low roar. Taking to the air, he quickly shot in the opposite direction of where those whooshing sounds were ringing from. Behind him, Li Xiantong, Zhu Xian and the other two wore tense expressions on their faces as they rapidly followed suit. Whoosh! Increasing their speed to the maximum, the five shot across the horizon at lightning speed, causing sharp and hurried whooshing sounds to piercingly reverberate within the vast mountain range. Darkness filled the entirety of Shen Sangsheng's face, his eyes brimming with unconcealable anger and fury. With his hands tightly clenched, green veins squirmed and throbbed on their surface. Such a speedy retreat caused him to feel as if his heart was burning up. Crack! The sharp and incisive sounds of space being split apart appeared to ring from the horizon behind them. Run quickly! Suddenly, Shen Sangsheng's face contorted as he fiercely roared. Ha ha! These few friends from the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, we've hurried over here from a place far, far away. And yet, you all want to leave before even saying any greetings. Isn't this too impolite of you all? Just as Shen Sangsheng's roar rang out, faint laughter, accompanied by a voice, suddenly rang out within the region. Upon hearing that voice, the hearts of Shen Sangsheng and the others furiously sunk down. Don't worry about him. Continue on, growled Shen Sangsheng. However, before his voice could fully ring out, his eyes abruptly contracted. Fiercely raising his head, he saw a figure with his hands behind his back stand on the mountain peak before them, looking straight towards them with a grin on his face. This figure was dressed in white robes, with a warm and radiant smile covering his handsome face, making it hard for people to raise their vigilance against him. Nevertheless, upon spotting him, the faces of Shen Sangsheng and the other four instantly contorted. Ji Xian. Please stay behind, the few of you, said Ji Xian with a smile as he looked towards Shen Sangsheng and the other four. In your dreams? Shen Sangsheng sneered in reply. Sweeping a glance towards Li Xiantong and the five of them explosively scattered seemingly in the next instant. Seeing this, Ji Xian couldn't help giving a gentle sigh. Not a single flutter of emotion was present within his eyes, before he gave a wave of his sleeve. In the next instant, exceedingly powerful spiritual energy instantly swept out from his sleeve just like a long river. Swish! Swish! As the long spiritual energy river swept out, it split into 5 parts, appearing right before Shen Sangsheng and the other 4 in the blink of an eye. As the long spiritual energy rivers converged together, they transformed into a giant spiritual energy palm that fiercely pressed down from above. Bang! A giant thunder-like bang resounded. Shen Sangsheng and the other 4 that were originally shooting away were instantly sent in the opposite direction. Other than Shen Sangsheng and Li Xiantong, who staggered back a few steps, muffled groans rang out from Zhu Xian and the other 2, while a faint shade of paleness appeared on their faces. This Ji Xian's strength is actually that terrifying. He had forced the 5 of them back just with a single palm of his. Shen Sangsheng and the other 4 were forced to group up once again. At this moment, a shadow of shock flashed across their eyes. The power and strength of Ji Xian had far exceeded all of their expectations. As of now, within their group, Shen Sangsheng and Li Xiantong were both currently at the pinnacle of first-grade spirit disaster. As for Zhu Xian, He Yao, and Yang Lin, all of them had already reached the realm of spiritual energy disaster. Truthfully speaking, such a lineup was considered to be rather strong. If not, they wouldn't be able to rush into the top 16 by just relying on their own strengths. However, despite that, their lineup was obstructed just by Ji Xian alone. These few friends from the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. You all should be clear that my true target's not you all. As long as you all agree to be captured, I'll not make things difficult for you all, said Ji Xian in a warm tone. Not giving a reply, a glint faintly sparkled within Shen Sangsheng's eyes. Whoosh! At this moment, more whooshing sounds rang out from behind them as 4 glowing figures shot over. Splitting up and moving into 4 separate locations, they completely sealed the surrounding space. The 4 that had shot over were precisely the members of Ji Xian's group. Seeing this, the eyes of Shen Sangsheng and the other 4 turned dim. From the looks of it, they seemed to have no way to easily escape this predicament. Exchanging glances with one another, all of them took a deep breath before their gazes gradually turned fierce. Even if there wasn't any more chances for them to escape, they would absolutely not let themselves be captured that easily. They needed to buy time for Mu Chen. Take action. Shen Sangsheng and Li Xiantong explosively shot out seemingly at the same instant. Clenching their hands, long spears appeared in a flash. Spiritual energies erupted from their bodies without the slightest bit of restraint, while the incomparably fierce spear tips explosively rumbled towards where Ji Xian was at lightning speed. At the same instant, Zhu Xian, He Yao, and Yang Lin had rushed towards another location. They had chosen to collaborate and attack one of Ji Xian's group members that had sealed that direction. Bang! Bang! As the spear tips heavily pierced towards the place where Ji Xian stood, the mountain peak below had instantly collapsed. As giant rocks tumbled down, Ji Xian strode through the air, walking straight up into the skies, while his white robes appeared clean and unblemished. The fierce attacks coming from Shen Sangsheng and Li Xiantong had unexpectedly not caused the slightest bit of harm towards him. Looks like you all do not approve of my suggestion, huh? Looking towards Shen Sangsheng and Li Xiantong, Ji Xian shook his head with some regret, before taking a small step forward. Whoosh! As his feet landed in the air, his figure appeared to have instantly shifted right before the two. As the trio exchanged gazes, the eyes of Shen Sangsheng and Li Xiantong snapped wide open. Bang! With exceedingly tacit understanding, Shen Sangsheng and Li Xiantong had sent a palm out each, patting out at seemingly the same time. Bringing along astonishing gales, boundless spiritual energies heavily patted down towards Ji Xian's body. Boom! However, just as they had sent their palms patting down, Ji Zuad had sent a palm of his own out in welcome. In the next instant, the palms of the trio heavily smashed against each other. Astonishing spiritual energy gales immediately swept out. Although Ji Xian's figure had seemingly not moved an inch, Shen Sangsheng and Li Xiantong appeared to have suffered a heavy blow. Their bodies shot backwards in a miserable fashion, skidding over 100 meters in the air before finally being able to forcefully stabilize themselves. At this moment, their hands were faintly trembling as intense pain radiated from them, appearing as if their bones had been shattered. I believe that you two should be the most elite of the Northern Heavens Spiritual Academy. As of now, with Mu Chen placed above your heads while having the status of a freshman, shouldn't you two be uncomfortable about it? Since that's the case, why not collaborate with me? If I settle and finish off Mu Chen, I'll guarantee your names in the Saint Spiritual Academy, and we'll make sure you guys are promoted into the final match, said Ji Xian in a slow manner as he looked towards Shen Sangsheng and Li Xiantong. Being a freshman in the Saint Spiritual Academy, Ji Xian was extremely clear how much jealousy and resentment those veteran outstanding students had towards him. With Mu Chen's road being similar to his own, one could tell that the latter's situation wasn't much better than his own. The few people before him should not have good feelings towards Mu Chen. However, he had clearly made some errors in his judgment this time. Upon hearing him say those words, Shen Sangsheng and Li Xiantong only gave a laugh in reply. The smiles present on their faces weren't deep, yet it showed of a faint flavor of ridicule and disdain. It was precisely this ridicule and disdain that caused the genial smile on Ji Xian's face to slowly disappear. If the people before him were exchanged for the other groups from the Saint Spiritual Academy, Ji Xian would dare to bet that they would instantly betray him. However, these fellows from the Northern Heavens Spiritual Academy were actually defending Mu Chen, who was now standing on their heads. From a certain perspective, wouldn't this mean that Mu Chen had obtained a more perfect result than him? You two truly don't know what's good for you, said Ji Xian with an indifferent smile. In the next instant, his figure disappeared once again. Bang! Astonishing spiritual energy erupted once again, as the figures of Shen Sangsheng and Li Xiantong were sent retreating once more, with blood flowing down the corners of their mouths. However, before they could react, a spectre-like figure had surfaced once again before them, while an even fiercer attack came enveloping over. Bang! Bang! The figures of the two continued to backpedal in a miserable fashion. Even after collaborating, they were still at a complete disadvantage, and were even unable to muster the slightest bit of resistance. Therefore, within the span of a dozen breaths, the amount of blood streaming down the corners of their mouths continued to increase. Boom! At the other location, Su Xian and the other two had collaborated in an attempt to break through from another direction. However, they discovered that they were unexpectedly unable to obtain the slightest bit of advantage over the youth from the Saint Spiritual Academy before them. Ha ha. Could it be that you've chosen to break through from here because I appear to be the weakest? After being targeted by Su Xian and the other two, the youth by the name of Mu Feng spoke out in a ridiculing manner as he grinned towards the trio. At the other three directions, his three other group members had only sealed those directions without taking action. That's because they knew that if Su Xian and the other two had chosen them as the direction to break through, the trio might have a slight chance in doing so. However, they had ended up choosing Mu Feng. Other than Ji Xian, that fellow was the second strongest within their group. Solemn expressions appeared on the faces of Su Xian and the other two. Nevertheless, none of them made any noise, with them merely attacking with increasing intensity. Don't drag it on anymore, Mu Feng. Just as Mu Feng was wanting to speak ridiculing comments, an indifferent voice rang out not far away from him. That was precisely Ji Xian's voice. Looks like you three are unlucky. Hearing that, Mu Feng gave a smile. Looking towards Su Xian and the other two, his smile started to become abnormally cold and chilling. This episode ends here. Thanks you for watching.